Thinking you are Mike Tyson in the Love Shack. Left uppercut, come around, bam, right, left, right, uppercut, come around, bam. Hey guys, what up? This is Conrad at GOG, Grumpy Old Geezer Boxing, and funny enough, I've been told I'm not that grumpy. That was a funny letter. We're going to get to that. Today we're going to actually answer another question. Thanks for writing in. This one's from Charlie B. And he wrote to the Facebook GOG Boxing page. And you can check out that. I put up fight pics. I put up videos I like. And he wrote, can you talk about Mike Tyson and his peekaboo style and eventually the overhand right? Well, I'm not going to get into the overhand right, but I am going to talk about Tyson's style, and specifically I'm looking at the early years, 86, 87, or let's say the highlight years when he became a champ, and some of these big fights, he's fighting huge fighters, and trying to pull out things that not only you might or might not have noticed, but things that could be applicable for you if you like this style. Maybe you're a shorter fighter and you wind up having to go against tall guys all the time, or maybe you just want to work some of this stuff in because some of it's pretty cool. Now, a caveat, I'm about to turn 54. I'm getting old and creaky, so when I bob under, I might not bob under quite as well as I should, so do as I say, not as I do. Otherwise, we're going to go up to the war room, but we're going to jump out to the white trash love shack. I apologize for the way that looks. The gazebo's full of stuff. Now the landlord is filling up the white trash love shack with stuff. I do what I can. It's coronavirus times. We get on with it. I hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe if I don't ask you to do that at the end. And let's get moving. Okay, so let's talk about Mike Tyson and his style. And specifically, this came from a question again from Charlie B. On Facebook on GOG Boxing. He was asking about the Tyson peekaboo style and the Cus D'Amato style that he taught him. And so what I want to concentrate on is the version of Tyson that you saw in 86, 87. You know, he'd rip through the ranks, knocked out everybody. But I'm talking about the Tyson that fought, say, Trevor Burbeck, Tyrell Biggs, Jesse Ferguson. Let me tell you, that was an underrated fighter. That guy's career, in fact, later he became Tyson's sparring partner. A lot of people didn't want to fight him. Don't just look at the record. That's a great fight to watch. But I'm going to put links to these fights and to some other fighters underneath the description. And we're going to go through 5 aspects where you can get some takeaways, some things to try, and maybe, hopefully, from a gym rat's point of view, a different understanding or a bit more understanding of the Tyson version of the peekaboo style. So what are these 5 things? We're going to talk about his use of the jab, his defense, going to the left, and this is actually really connected, his peekaboo guard, his use of his head in the clinch, and what I call kind of the Tyson corkscrew bob, which is something I think you're really going to like, okay? That I think you're really going to like. Now, first of all, let's talk about the jab. Now, for guys who are shorter guys, and I think this is specifically where Charlie was coming from, you get in there with taller fighters, and especially when you're starting out, or if you get a guy that's actually really good, man, taller fighters can be very frustrating. If they have long arms, they're keeping you on the end of your jab. You're having a lot of trouble trying to get inside. You're worried about avoiding the jab. You never seem like you're in range. Now, Tyson, he went up against this his whole career. I mean, if you look at the guys he's fighting, they're just giants compared to him. He was, I don't know, I'm not sure what his height really was, 5'8", 5'8.5", maybe 5'10", I don't think so, but he definitely had reach disadvantages, and he adapted to this, and he overcame this disadvantage against some great fighters thanks to this Cus D'Amato style. But what was that? Well, first of all, let's talk about, before we get into his version of the peekaboo, right, let's talk about the jab. Now, when you see Tyson fight in these early fights, and this is pretty consistent, he actually uses a jab a lot more than you think. You can see it even fighting against Tyrell Biggs. Now, Tyrell Biggs, if you watch that fight, it's amazing how Ali-like he was. He had great athletic movement on his toes, circling a lot to his left, shooting out a super long jab, and he was quick, right? And he was quick. And Tyson jabbed a lot against him, but he jabbed a lot against Jesse Ferguson, the guys that are just taller than him. Against Tyrell Biggs, he's throwing jabs. Now, his jab, though, is interesting. you know, he wasn't, people talk about Tyson, the peekaboo, just always being squared up. That's not exactly true. He did get very squared up, okay? But a lot of times, he's in a pretty, maybe a more open stance than, say, what I would myself prefer. But he would come in and he would throw that jab. Now we'll talk about what he's really doing in the peekaboo, because it's not he wasn't doing it as stiff as what a lot of times you'll hear people say. But when he throws that jab, first of all, it's a committed jab a lot of the times, or a double jab even. And even on the double jab, it's pretty committed. But when he throws that jab, he's trying to get something on it. Now there's two things to pay attention to here. One, he's almost always, if he's in that stance when he's throwing a jab, he's got this shoulder down, he's got this shoulder up, and when he throws it, a lot of times you'll see that you almost can't tell, is he going to throw for the body or is he going to throw high, right? And he'll throw a pretty committed jab and he'll step into it, and he's really got himself shielded here. But what happens because of that, I think a lot of times if you watch the reactions of these fighters, the other fighters, they can't tell for sure, is he going high or low, which is great. He's usually almost always coming forward on that jab to do something else, sometimes with a straight right hand. And he had a pretty good straight right hand, which is really underestimated. A lot of people talk about how he's just throwing, you know, hooks and uppercuts. But what is one of the real points? If he didn't throw a straight right, a lot of times you'll see him off the jab go to his left. He'll go to his left, and this gets right into the defense. He'll slip to his left, and this is what I want to talk about here. The defense and this kind of focus on the left. Now that's on the offense. He would switch to the right a lot of times, even switch stances. But if you watch these early fights, especially, you will see him, he'll throw the jab and he will slip to the left. And a lot of times that starts everything. Amazing how often he does that. Even when he slips a punch, and that's what we're going to talk about in a second, because a lot of his peekaboo is not so much like a typical high guard. He slips, he immediately is going back to the left. We'll get to that in a second. Now, what is his defense in this peekaboo guard and this focus on the left? Now, this is the way I see it, and you can not agree or whatever, watch the films yourself. But first of all, let's talk about this peekaboo guard and where this focus on getting left comes in, in defense enabling offense. When you see a lot of people show the Tyson peekaboo, a lot of times they'll be really squared up. I mean, I think I've even, shown you a basic version of that on an old video. But they'll have their fists like this, right, or up on their cheeks, right, like this, in, right, and tight. And so you see this type of thing, which, okay, to be honest, if you really watch the films and you really watch what he was doing, now I'm not talking about sometimes you'd see practices and when he's doing training, okay, but take a look at the fights. A lot of times he would start out like this, but then as he starts moving forward, his guard switches into like a triangle. And maybe just he's so strong that his elbows are out, but his elbows are more out. It's more of a triangle, and it's not so tight to his body. Actually, a lot of times his hands are pretty loose, especially when he's coming in on the attack. He was very much a come forward fighter. Now, the second thing, when he comes forward and he starts his rocking, right, his peekaboo, this left-right swing, another guy that you can kind of compare this to, although his movements were jerkier and a little bit different, would be Joe Frazier, who would also, he also wasn't tight up against his body. He would get low and come in like this and look for hooks. But Joe Frazier actually had a really fast jab. You watch the old films, it's amazing. Now, what does this do? A couple things. One, if you get tight, like say we're in a high guard and we're taking body shots and you get tight, or say you're in a normal guard and you got your elbows tight, that makes a lot of sense. When you're fighting a tall guy, like Tyson was always fighting taller guys, and he was coming in, if he came in with a tight guard like that, one, he's going to have, you know, you say you're protected, but you're also just letting yourself, you're forming a kind of a wall to get yourself lifted up. But another thing, when you've got those elbows out like he does, and you're coming forward, man, somebody does an uppercut on you and they hit that elbow. But I think it wasn't really so much about that. One, I think it's about, partly was about being loose, but the other thing was about setting up off, whether it was off, slipping a jab or slipping left to right to set up his offense, okay? Now, this is where we'll really get into what I think is kind of the genius of Tyson. And this is where there's a difference between the high guard and the peekaboo, at least in the Tyson style, because I had somebody even comment on the forum that, look, the peekaboo is just the high guard, just a version of the high guard, not the Tyson peekaboo. No. If you look at, I think Winky Wright's one of the best high guard guys you've ever seen fighting. Winky Wright fighting a high guard. Sometimes you get the earmuffs on, but it's pretty consistent, right? Bladed stance, right? High guard up, and he parried a lot. He took a lot off the high guard. When he slipped, sometimes he would get it. He would drop his high guard, but it's about taking stuff off the gloves. That is part of the high guard, parrying, taking stuff off the gloves. Tyson's peekaboo is not, you don't see that. That's not what, now I'm not saying he never caught stuff on the gloves, but it's much more about slipping. And that's when he's not tight like this, he's like this, and you get this triangular rock. Now, a lot of times what do you see? He slips people's jabs. When he slips the jab, and you'll see, say, the Tyrell Biggs video, he slips the jab, makes him miss by an inch. You know, makes him miss by an inch. What does he do next? He will come way over on that first rock. He does that again and again in his fights. So it's not, he might come forward, and sometimes you'll see him come forward like this. He might come forward, but that first slip is not trying to catch it off the guard. It's not like a high guard. It's slipping the first jab, then getting way over. Now, what does he do when he gets way over? One, he slips a right if it's coming. But the big thing is, and this is where the defense going into the offense and this focus on the left, is he's way over here to throw an uppercut. You see, if there's one thing to get out of what Tyson does, is he really uses his left hand. He's using it on hooks, he's using it on uppercuts. And most of the time, that's coming after he has come over here. Sometimes he's just coming over here anyway, but a lot of times he'll start the rocking. He might slip the left and then come way over. And sometimes he's literally doing the drill. So left, right, left, then to an uppercut or then to a hook. Now, this gets into the next kind of genius of Tyson. This focus on the left and what he's able to do off it. If he slips the jab, the oncoming jab by an inch, gets way over, and a lot of times he gets way over on his left side, right? On his left side. From here, he can throw an uppercut, which a lot of times he does, or look what happens. He's here, it's in a perfect position to do, and you will see him do this especially in later fights, where he will throw, basically it's like a leaping left hook. Bam! It's almost like a Roy Jones leaping left hook. Once he is in this position, and this is going fast when he does this. It's not like he's doing one thing slow. But whether he starts, he's here and he goes left, right, left, uppercut, or he slips the jab, left, uppercut, or look at all the things he can do, and he does do. He'll slip, he might do an uppercut, he might do a hook, he might do an uppercut and a hook. But what happens after that is where you get into this cool, what I call the corkscrew bob, okay? And that sets him up to do so many things. If he slips and he throws that uppercut, for example, you will see people a lot of times what you'll see what he's really doing. First, I'm going to exaggerate this move, and then we'll make it a little bit cleaner, okay? Whether or not he does a quick slip and then comes over, or whether or not it is, the whole thing. So step, 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 and then let's get over here. He'll throw an uppercut, but off that uppercut, And the mechanics of this are natural. It's not, you wouldn't go just a straight bob under like that. And what he's doing, and you'll even see him when he doesn't throw a punch. He'll throw an uppercut or throw in a hook, and then when he goes to the bob, it's like a turn to slip, maybe an oncoming punch. Then it's a bob under, and then he'll throw a lot of times a hook. Now, how does that work in practice? Try to look at my feet here. Well, he is shifting the weight to get this kind of to get this momentum going, and it provides you so much crazy power, which I'm going to show you also on the bags. Okay, so without doing the whole thing, if you're in an uppercut, right, it's a turn, and look, see this foot here, because it's like if I threw a punch, or if I'm turning, so this foot's coming up, I'm bobbing under, this foot's coming up, and then I'm going to do that punch. I think I did a double step there, but that's okay. You see what I'm talking about. So here I am. Let's say that I slip to this side, slip to that side, slip to this side, uppercut, turn, come around, bam. You see my feet? You see what my feet are doing? And you don't have to do it with your feet glued to the floor. You can do it with little steps, but it's important to get that weight transfer. So if we're here again, slip, 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 uppercut, come over, bam, right? Now, that type of movement, you will see on the bag yourself, you get so much power out of it, but also what does it do for you? If you did from the very start, let's say you started going the other way, and you slipped his jab, you came over, you slip his right, you throw an uppercut, right? Tyson caught a lot of people with uppercuts. Even if you just are getting the gloves, you know, he catches, if he's fighting you and he's in an orthodox position, I'm going to stand like here so you can see it, right? You jabbed, you missed it, you tried to hit him with the right. Look where you are. He uppercuts you. Or maybe in the midst of that uppercut, what are you going to try to do? You're going to try to throw a left hook. Okay, you're going to try to throw a left hook. So it's a natural thing to bob under maybe an oncoming left if you're thinking that guy's going a 1-2 or a 1, maybe even try to 1-1-3 on you. But since he's a smaller guy, and also when you're smaller, and some of you have felt this, that you try to slip down, or even if you bob under, some of those guys with long arms, that punch keeps following you down and it hits you. And so what would he do? And he did it so athletically, it's really amazing. When he gets way over to his left, he throws it, but since this foot, he's way over, he throws it, right? He might even throw it like that. Either way, when he turns, this foot's coming up. He's bobbing under, he's shifting his weight, and then, you know, it's like you're a baseball player. You go, bam, right? But that turn, coming under, left, that combo of the slip off something that's coming to you and the bob under at the same time really puts you in position, and it gives you momentum, but it helps you get under what's oncoming. So, and you can practice it both ways, although the other side starts to get a little bit trickier, a little bit harder. It feels weird. So if let's say you're here, right, and you're doing the step, 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 come under, uppercut, come around, shift the weight, hit, up here, uppercut, slip and under, come around. Now look what I did. I did that uppercut from this side, right? It's my backhand. I'm still doing this slip and bob under. So it's a slip and bob under, come around, and look my feet again. You got the weight transfer going, and bam, and I can hit you. That drill, you can practice going back and forth. It will feel easier, more natural, I guarantee you, on your left side, which is not a bad thing because he's concentrating on his left so much. Here we are in the White Trash Love Shack. Love Shack, baby love. Sorry about this, but COVID, no gyms. My situation with the White Trash Gazebo changed. The shack is filling up with junk that is much loved. Yes, it is the Love Shack. It is what it is, but that does not stop us from talking about Mike Tyson. Now, let's talk about what I was going through in the war room. Look, this movement, and you'll be able to see my feet here. First, I just want to show you how much leverage you get on the bag, right? Now, if you are, just gonna show up and throw punches, okay, but watch this, and I'm gonna do it slow again, just like I did in the war room. But I want to show you the leverage, and just imagine this is a live body, because it will also show you something. So Tyson, like I said, he likes to come up, or at least in those years especially, he really worked off his left. I mean, he really did use that left hook and left jab. Now, he might come up with what we're talking about with this bob move. He might do a small slip of the jab, but when he comes over, he would come way over. And that, like I said, that's to get out of the way of an oncoming right hand, but also to set him up with other punches, with a lot of times an uppercut or a left hook. So look what happens. When you come in here, got dogs in the left shot now, I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, look what happens. You come up, when you come over to this side, so you could do this bobby move. You come over to this left side and you throw that uppercut, right? You throw that uppercut. Now, if you imagine this is a live body and he threw a jab, Tyson slipped it. He throws a straight, Tyson slips it. He gets hit with an uppercut, or maybe Tyson hits him in the arms. What does he try to do? He tries to probably throw his left hook, his three, onto Tyson, okay? Look where Tyson is. By that time he's over here, he throws that uppercut. If that three is coming, he's probably actually, knowing Tyson, he really stands back on that uppercut. If that three is coming, that's why you get this perfect roll out. It moves away from the three, then it comes under. You see my feet shifting, and then I'm like in this baseball bat position to throw this punch, right? So, but what happens? If you're throwing that left hook, trying to catch Tyson, you're throwing that left hook, and it's one of those things, boxers, sometimes we follow people's heads when they start to get out of the way. You try to hit him and he slips, and you end up overextending because you're trying to reach him. The same thing with that left hook. If he tries to reach Tyson, when Tyson does this roll and come under, then what happens? He's gone too far. He's come too far around. Tyson's back here, and Tyson's gonna, and all he can try to do is to come back and maybe punch. He's gonna get clocked. He can try to reset. It's probably too late. He's going to move naturally. He's probably going to move back into Tyson's punch. Why? Because what Tyson did, he comes up, he rolled away from that hook. He comes under, bam, he hits him. And when he tries to recompensate, he's getting hit. But look what happens if I don't even really try. You set these cameras up. I always get cold, and it's cold out here. Look. Here I come. Now, this isn't an uppercut. I don't have an uppercut like a tube or anything on here to do an uppercut, but you'll see what I mean. I'll just do the uppercut to the outside. If I come in here, let's see, I do this bob, I come over here, uppercut, come around, bam. You see, it's because this, not only does that help you get out of the way and come under, but because of this rotation, you just get so much power on the punch, you kind of feel like Tyson, right? So if I'm going to do it just a little bit faster, and so here I am, I'm doing my we'll talk about this in a minute, but get some rhythm into it. Doing some rhythm, back, uppercut, come around, bam,